Hi, I'm Tom Fiorelli. I'm the manager of Davis Art Images, Davis Art Slides. We're going to go on a little tour today, and I'm going to show you where art slides come from. So what we'll do is we'll show you where they start and where they end up. Behind me is the safe, and in the safe are all the masters. And the masters come from museums or from photographers who actually shoot on locations. So what we have is we have 35mm slides in master form, and also 4x5s and some 8x10s that come directly from the museums. So what we have to do is we have to make duplicate images of these. And the best way to do that is on duplicating film, and to run the film ourselves, and to mount them, and put all the metadata, which is the information on the slides, on the mounts ourselves. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to each station and show you all the different parts of the process. And what we'll do is we'll take a book, and I have one right here, and in this book we'll lay in all the masters that we need to shoot and put in a shoot plan for each page, so we know exactly what we're shooting and when we're shooting it. When we process, we know when it comes out and when it has to be assembled. After we decide what images we're going to be shooting for the day, what we'll do is we'll put the book together and bring them over to our camera and start to shoot. And we'll switch over to that area right now. Okay, I'm standing in front of a Mary Carroll animation camera. This camera came directly from Hollywood, California, and they use it for shooting animation cells, the plastic cells that Mickey and Minnie live on. And what they do is they repeatedly shoot them in a movie format. What we're doing here is we're taking each one of those cell photographs and they become our slide. Okay, this camera can do 400-foot rolls of film at one time, and allowing us to do maybe a full day's run of about 1,600 images. So what we'll do is we'll load the camera up with the 400-foot loads, and we have a dichroic light source here, and we color correct the light source depending on the image that we put under it. So if an image tends to be very magenta, obviously we want to pull out the magenta. We use additive color here, so what we're going to do is we're going to put in cyan, and we're going to put in some yellow, and we're going to pull out all of that really ugly magenta. So in any case, we'll show you a little bit more of color correction on the other table. But in any case, the animation camera, I don't know if you can see over here. Can you see this? I want you to pan down to this. This is a computer-run machine, and it allows me to run the film forward, backward, counts the number of frames that I've shot. It allows me to do a collective number, so if I want to do 80 or 100 of one image, it can do that. It can tell me where I am in the roll at any given time. So when I cut off the film, I know how much is left and how much I've taken. This makes life a lot easier. This is my Dichroic Adjuster here. This allows me to put in cyan, magenta, and yellow in any combination that I want, and I've made all those corrections ahead of time, and I'll show you on the other table how we do that. Once I've shot everything with this camera, we'll take it into the darkroom and actually load it up and then get it into the processor. So let me show you a little bit about color correction over to our other station. Right now I'm sitting in front of the color correction table, and what we have is we have a color-corrected daylight light source. Okay, so it's a very clean, pure white light. And on top of that, we're putting down our original masters. And what I'll do is I'll look at a master and I'll see if that master is in fact magenta in color. What I have to do is I have to add cyan and yellow to take out that, because then that becomes green, and green is what takes out magenta. Okay, if all of these three colors are put together, the RGB, we end up with basically a clear white light. Okay, so that's how this additive color correction works. And what I'm going to do is sit here, I'm going to look at the masters, decide what I want the masters to look like, if I want them to be totally adjusted or not adjusted at all. Sometimes what we'll do is we'll leave the masters just as they are for the first run, for the test, and see how the processor is. A lot of what we do has to do with how the processor is feeling every day. It's a very, how should I say, finicky machine, and we have to kind of cater to its whims. So sometimes the machine is running a little magenta or it's running a little green, so we have to adjust for that also. So what I'll do is I'll run the masters with no color correction at all, just at my regular standard f-stop and shutter speed, and then decide later how I want to adjust it again once I've seen how things are going for the machine. good days and bad days, like all of us. So, in any case, what I'll do then is I'll shoot the original test on every master that we have for that day, and then come back, look on the light table, see how I want to recorrect it, knowing by then how the machine is feeling, and put in my second correction. Second correction is usually the final one. We don't usually have to go beyond that. So what we'll do now is we'll go into the darkroom and show you where we load and unload the film. Hi, we're in the darkroom, obviously, and this is where we load and unload the film and make all our splices. So what we'll do is we'll shoot with the camera, and we'll load the film into these, bring them into the darkroom, and unload them. And in the process of unloading them, what we do is we actually splice this onto a leader, and the leader is just a plastic leader that goes into the machine. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll take the 35mm film and put it into the machine on one side, and on the other side we'll have our leader, and this has a piece of tape on it, and the tape, what that does is comes across, links the two together, and allows us to make a splice between the exposed film and the leader. Okay, we hold them together like that. And in the process of doing this, we also put in pre-exposed film that comes from Eastman Kodak. And what it is, it's the film base that we use, which is the E-dupe film, that's already been exposed and processed. It's finished, but it hasn't gone through the machine yet, but it's ready to go. And we use that as a guide because there's no way to tell, there's no way to keep track of the process unless you have a pre-exposed standard, and that's what these test strips do for us. Okay, so in any case, we load all these together and put these onto a 1,000-foot roll of 1,000-foot spool. This spool then goes into a loading canister, which is over here, and that's this big monster box, and it has a light trap on one side of it. And all it does is allow us to walk out of the room with the film without exposing it. Once everything's loaded up, I'll take that canister and walk over to the processor, and that's where we're going to go right now. Okay, here we are in the processing room. This is our Cine processor. This machine also comes directly from Hollywood, California. It's the same process they use when they use cinema film. And what we're doing is we're splicing the film, like I showed you in the other room, into this canister. And the machine has a leader that stays in the machine at all times. So you don't have to rethread the machine every time you load it. So with the leader in the machine, all we do is splice onto the end of it, and our unexposed film starts to travel through the machine, through the chemistry. And it has to go through at a certain rate, at a certain temperature, and if the moon and the stars are right, we get out a good product. So we'll see how that works right now. As it comes through, it goes through a first developer, which is a black and white developer. It comes into a wash, a reversal bath that changes it from negative to positive, and color, that means the color layer of the film is being processed, a pre-bleach chemical that prepares it to go into the bleach, where it's actually changed over into a positive image. It's fixed like all film has to be. It's washed again and has a final rinse which kind of seals the film up. Then it's dried as it comes out, and it comes out on this 1,000-foot roll. And again, it's all spliced together. So let's say we had 1,600 feet. That means we had a few 400-foot rolls spliced together for the day. And they come off in the opposite direction that they go on. And at each end of this run, we have a control strip. And a control strip looks like this. It's a small piece of film. I described it before. It's been pre-exposed by Eastman Kodak. So we have a standard to go by. So we'll look at this exposure in our densitometer, which I'll show you, and compare it to our film, and we'll see how the machine's running. The machine also has the capability of replenishing itself, because as the tanks get, the activity of the tanks gets used up because the chemicals, have the film running through them, each of the chemicals has to be replenished. And what we'll do is, overhead here, there are 12-gallon tanks that I mix up, and it pumps in through gravity feed new chemistry. The adjustment on these dials tells me how much chemistry is going into the machine at any given time. We know for the speed of the machine how much chemistry has to go in to replenish it to keep the level about right. So I'll show you the densitometer now. Okay, here we are at the densitometer. And what this does is this reads the density of the test strip for us. Okay? And what we'll do is we'll take each of these different exposures on this control strip, put it underneath the densitometer, and actually give us a reading. Okay? And those readings are then plotted on a chart. And what this chart does is it gives us a visual cue of what's going on with the machine. It tells us if the densities have gone up or the densities have gone down. It tells us how our replenishment rate is going versus those indicators. So on a very good plot, this is about the most perfect plot, that every time you process, it dips, and every time you process again, it goes up and up and down, up and down, up and down, and that shows the replenishment rates. Okay? Now sometimes it gets a little crazy if you don't run film for a while, and that you get peaks and valleys that are kind of extreme, but we try to adjust them through the replenishment rates. So right now we'll go over into the mounting area and see how the film is mounted once it comes out of the processor. This is our mounter. After the film comes out of the processor, what we do is we unload it, put it back on smaller spools, the 400-foot spools, and load it onto the machine. So what we have here is, right now, we have 80 of one image. Okay? And what we'll do is we'll load this into the machine and fire it up. What it does is it cuts, pushes, and cuts and pushes as we run, and loads them into the mounts for us. Quite simple, easy to do. We run through a lot of mounts. At the height of our production, we were probably doing 1,600 feet a day. It's a lot of film, Okay, now after everything is mounted, we go over to the imprinter, and we'll step over there and take a look. Okay, this is metadata, and what we're doing is we're putting metadata on the mounts. So what I'll do is I'll load up all the mounts that we did in the other room, put them in here. This has a little printer head on it, basically the same kind of printer head that they have on cash registers at the supermarket. So if the sound is familiar, it's a supermarket sound you hear. And they plop out of this little trough into this cup, and we start to put them into trays, and they're all numbered and ready for collation, which is our next step. In any case, let's see how this thing runs. And with any kind of luck, we'll get it to go. There was a time when we were running two of these simultaneously, and the noise got so bad we always had to put on earphones. But as soon as you take the earphones off, then you can hear again. Everything is fine. Okay? Okay, so what I have then is imprinted mounts. Metadata, just what we need. So from here what we're going to do is we're going to go into our collation room, which is in the next area, and I'll show you how that works. Okay, here we are collating, obviously in the same room that we've been in 4 times already. So once we take all the individual images, now I have to preface this by saying this is only used for sets. We collate only sets. Individual images just go into our stock, which I'll show you later. So what we do is we take the trays with all the individual images in them, and we put them into these boxes one at a time. So that means you take all of number 1 and you put it into 150 boxes or 80 boxes, whatever it is. And you take number 2 and put it into each of the boxes. Okay? It's time consuming, but we have to do it. It's the only way to do it. So the final product here is then a box with our label on it, with our insert already printed up and folded over, put into the box, and we close it up, seal it up, and we ship it out. And now we'll go over and see what kind of beautiful stock we have in the other room. This is our storage area for our finished slides. From these shelves, we would pick orders. Everything is in numerical order and ordered by museum, so it makes it very easy for someone to actually pick an order and then send it out. In any case, everything is stored here, ready to go. If we need to reorder, restock, we know what items to pull from the shelves. So that is the end of the tour, because we have seen how the masters go to the film, that go to the processing, and they end up being imprinted and collated and finished. So I hope you enjoyed this. The process is a bit of a dinosaur, but it's something not to be forgotten, where we all came from. So thank you for watching.